Hello, everyone. My name is Lawrence, and as you can see by this photo, I am a nerd, and I work for Microsoft, and I have been programming since I was 7 years old. And that look in my eye, you see, I used to say is true love. And what's interesting and why I'm really, really glad to be here is I moved here 22 years ago, and 14 years ago, I met a girl from the bush, Glennis, New South Wales. Her father has been an MLA member for 36 years. He raises Angus beef cattle, beautiful land up there. And if you want to see what real true love looks like for a man who knew nothing about cattle, this is it. I baled hay. And I will never bale hay again. We're married. We have 2 kids. I've paid my dues. But I tip my hat to you all for doing an amazing, amazing job. So when I'm not baling hay, I actually work for Microsoft, and I have the privilege to look after this area called mixed reality. And why do we call it mixed reality? I know you've heard about AR and VR. I know the guy at Accenture talked a little bit about mixed reality. When I think about the problems left to solve in computing, there are less and less about computers. The real problem we have with computers is computers don't understand us. And if you look at where the real problems we have and how we've solved them, we've always solved problems in 2D. So whether you had a blueprint and then you had to figure out what the blueprint looked like in real life, whether you had an answer and you wrote the answer down on a scrap of paper or on a Post-it note, whether you got an email and you wrote an email to someone, or you did your taxes in Excel, or you used your phone to buy something, you are trying to solve a real-world problem using a 2D tool. And the problem with that is that's not how we think. The way people think is we see the answer. You close your eyes at night, you see a dream, you experience it. And computers are lousy at understanding us, and for us to find answers in computers, we have to code, like in that first photo I showed you. Microsoft has created not just a device. We're not just worried about the device. We are worried about the software, the platforms, the development tools that allow computers to see the real world, to see the people in the real world, and to understand, without an army of developers, what the people are doing in the real world to solve real world problems. So when Microsoft talks about mixed reality, a lot of people think about the HoloLens. That is what she's wearing in this photo. You've seen us at our booths wearing those devices. Now, a HoloLens is a computer. Doesn't need anything else. Just like you can put your phone or your tablet on laptop mode, you can turn the HoloLens off the network and it is still very useful. You still see things in the real world. But if you connect the HoloLens to a laptop, now you start to stream in IoT data. Now you start to connect with people who are somewhere else where they can help you solve problems in the real world in real time. Now, I want to share this. It came out of RMIT, so this is a Melbourne innovation. And I met these guys, 2 professors, Gwyl and Cameron, about 3.5 years ago when we launched the first HoloLens. And they had this wacky idea that instead of trying to teach people to understand 3D, what if you just gave them information in the real world, just like Lego instructions? So think about Lego instructions, but not in a book, but sitting in the real world. What would they be able to do? And this is real. So this is how they teach their first-year design students. They wear devices, and they see the instructions in front of them, and they follow the instructions, and they work together to solve a real-world problem. Now, they publish white papers, and they publish research, but when I saw this at RMIT, I got so excited. And I said to them, 2 professors, would you please sell this to other people? They said, look, we teach architecture and design. We don't know anything about selling software. I said, Microsoft will help you. And we did. So just over a year ago, they launched a startup called Hologram. And they are in the market selling their solution. And the first video I want to play isn't a Microsoft-produced video. This actually came from the guys at Hologram, and this is one of their case studies with Colin, CEO from Allbrick.
I've been implementing Hologram in workshop scenarios, so building complex brick structures, building complex timber structures, and working with it in a fabrication environment. UTAS ran a workshop and invited Colin and his team at Allbrick to come and try out the headset on some of the tricky geometry that they were producing in the university. So we heard from the team at UTAS that they wanted to put the brickies to the test on this complex fabrication project, so we went down to see what they'd been up to.
There isn't a single brick on there that lines up to anything. Every brick is different. This would take you like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
One guy, and a lot of that would have to be, you know, made up. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to get it exactly like this would be.
UTAS provided a design model, and Colin used Hologram to turn that into a holographic instruction set. This lets Colin see the outline and precise placement of every single brick in the wall. Aside from using Hologram as an instruction set, Colin was also able to use it to train his apprentices.
So that's all the bricks, right? Yep. So see how you are here. That one's good. Yep. This one here shows it's got to come round. So just treat that like you do your string line all the way around. Mm-hmm. So hit that back. It took us 2 brick layers, and it took us took 2 brick layers, about 6.5 hours.
The really exciting thing about this project is that now Colin and his team can approach architects and enable them to design more complex things, knowing that he has the capability to build them. I was surprised by the accuracy and the fidelity to the digital model that Colin and his team were able to achieve. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Colin can work with architects to develop more complex structures that are even more challenging than this one and build them at a larger scale in permanent projects.
I once seen a program on John Lennon, you know, and he reckons every song that he made, he used to get scared that I'm going to stop now because I'll never make anything better than that, you know. That's how I'm thinking it's time to stop. I'm nervous that I can't make nothing better.
I love that case study. Colin is really funny because Dave cut that together. I've seen the raw footage, and there are a lot of F-bombs that got bleeped out. I don't know if you were reading his lips, but that's real, right? So that's not marketing, that is real. Now, Microsoft, we have a bunch of solution partners who build holographic apps. And in fact, 2 of our partners in Australia are here today. So if you get a chance, go talk to DXC about their IXM solution, and certainly step by Saab's solution and see what they are doing in resource planning and mining, and also talk to them about what they're working with MLA. I used to joke with my wife, when my father-in-law retired 4 years ago, my wife said to me, look, do you want to move on to the farm? And I said, unless the cows have Wi-Fi, I really don't know what I would do on a farm. And I told my father-in-law I was coming to talk to you guys today, and he told me it was 14 years too late to make a good impression. So I tried. The next case study I want to share is from another partner of ours here in Telstra. Why I'm sharing this one is it was done with University of Queensland. It was solving a real problem around teaching ag students some really tricky science that really cause potential students to drop out. So they said, look, these students will be great. They will go on to be incredible farmers and thinkers, but they have to, the way the world is going, they got to learn this chemistry. They have to learn this science. So how do we use mixed reality to engage them on real science? And this is the case study.
Education is about engaging in the first instance, and then from that engagement follows good education, good learning.
So the solution is using the HoloLens augmented reality technology to bring data together so that students can visualise real-life situations.
There was collaboration with both Telstra and Redify. Redify enabled us to put the app together. We produced the science, and they took that science and translated it into HoloLens speak, basically. The HoloLens and this app have engaged students right from the start. So we have a fish that swims around, and the fish can die. And one of the things you see is students saying, no, we can't, the fish is dying, do something about the fish. They become emotionally engaged in it.
It is rather fun, actually. You get quite attached to your fish. When you are wearing the HoloLens unit, you can pull up sort of lab results, and they're able to be seen by your team on the screen. And then you can change a couple of parameters, maybe up your irrigation or change the sunlight to make the fish happy. It pulls all the concepts from your lecture together into a sort of fun environment.
So instead of just looking at a spreadsheet, they know what's happening in real life, environmental ponds, rivers, etc., fish kills. They play the app, they see what's happening scientifically, and they can do things to it to manage it in time, and then they go back to a spreadsheet and see the reality of the data that's created.
The partnership with industry has been both gratifying and really successful. And it's because of the commitment from both parties, both Redify from Telstra and the University of Queensland, that saw the potential to use the technology at the university. So we'll test the boundaries with this technology.
Blended learning, for me, is probably the way to go in the future. It allows us to visualise lots of relatively boring data in really interesting ways. So students learn about something without really realising they're learning.
So everything I've shown today is history from Microsoft's perspective. We launched HoloLens 3.5 years ago, and we've done some really amazing things here in Australia with partners and researchers and academics and companies. What I'm going to talk to you really quickly about now is what's coming. So later this year, we're launching a HoloLens 2. Some of you may have just been hearing about HoloLens 1, but something much nicer is coming. And we've taken the things that HoloLens 1 does very well, and we built onto it things that make it way more natural. So what do I mean by that? One, it's more comfortable. It's lighter. So it's not always blocking your view. You could fold it up, you can fold it down, still see the people in the room, but it's comfortable to wear all day. Two, you've seen the movie The Avengers, Iron Man? You ever wanted to reach out and grab a hologram and throw it across the room? Well, you can do that now. So instead of having to do the funny gestures and air clicks, you can reach out with your hands and you can interact with the content dynamically. Because it's tracking both hands, even your handedness, left hand versus right hand. One of the biggest pieces of feedback we got in the version 1 device was the field of view. People felt it was too small, not immersive enough. Well, we've more than doubled the area of the field of view. And while we've doubled the area, we actually increased the resolution to 2K per eye. So super high fidelity. And then the last thing we did, and I'll bring it all together, is we scan your eye, so you don't have to type in passwords. It can scan your eye, but also instead of moving your head, you can just look at what you want, and the HoloLens knows what in the real world or virtual world you're looking at. So it makes things much nicer. So what does that look like? This is my last case study, and it's one that Microsoft did. This is around operations and maintenance and calling a remote expert to help you on the ground. We call it remote assist. What you see is exactly what it is. So I would love to connect with you guys. We will have HoloLens 2 in country next month. Not launching. You have to come visit us at the MTC. And certainly, I would love to come out and see you guys and put you in this experience. But you can see she's calling someone somewhere else in the world who's looking through her eyes in real time and guiding her through a procedure. So she can have up to 8 experts anywhere in the world talking to her helping her diagnose what's going on, uploading information into her field of view, and drawing and giving her directions to guide her through completing a task. Those holograms are persistent. So if she needs to walk away, grab some tools, and come back, everything will be sitting right there where she's left it, unless she's asked it to follow her. So that's what we're bringing to market later this year. We are really excited about it. We think that it has the potential to really help what you do. And if I'm lucky, it means we'll get Wi-Fi and cows. So thank you for having us.